Welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 10th of July, 2024, and this is the Cluster API Karpenter Feature Group meeting. We are a sub-project of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we follow their meeting guidance, which basically means please treat everyone as you would expect to be treated, or otherwise so, please be kind to each other. And if you'd like to talk, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. So I had a couple agenda items that I wanted to get into today. Basically, I've been trying to get the delete interface working, and I've run into just a few complications around, trying to avoid making the mistakes that we made in cluster autoscaler with respect to like double deletes and things like that. So I've been trying to work out just making sure we have a proper kind of mutex in the delete method so that we can, gate that properly and not kind of like double effect a machine deployment or something. I don't think it will be an issue, but I just want to make sure that I can't, that it's not going to happen. So um, I've been trying to make that work. It's difficult to kind of make a test for it because, Carpenter core is kind of what controls that delete interface. But I think I've got it isolated in the same manner that the cluster autoscaler does. So that's been one of the things I've been looking at there. I guess are there any questions or comments about that one? Okay. Well, I will move on to my second topic then, which is the creation interface. This one is a little more complicated, but I'm trying to get to the point where I can have a simulation running with the KubeMark provider. And the create interface is definitely complicated. So what I've been doing is kind of based on what we talked about last time. I'm implementing the create in a way where it creates kind of like a bogus provider ID to begin with, and then fills it in once the machine arrives. And so currently, I'm kind of working through the process of creating basically like a machine controller that watches for any machines that come into the system, and then tries to when it finds a new machine it tries to go and look for like node claims that might need to be satisfied by that machine. So far, this has been pretty straightforward, although creating unit tests for it is complicated to say the least. So I'm trying to get to the point where I can run it and then maybe fill in some of the unit tests afterwards once I can see what some of the objects look like. Uh, my hope is that, by the end of July, I want to say we'll have something that we can start really hacking on, and people can use and try to like, experiment with. I have a feeling that the initial like, kind of alpha version of this is going to be a little bit rocky because you'll need to manually create machine deployments and then put some information on there in the form of annotations to make them work correctly. But I'm creating some examples to go with the work I'm doing. So hopefully, when I get this commit ready or this PR chain ready to go in, there'll be like a nice example to go with it that shows, what you need to do to set up a cluster so that you could get Carpenter to recognize machine deployments and then properly, assess them for usage. So, like I said, this is probably initially going to require some manual kind of hacking on the part of the user to make sure the machine deployments have the proper capacity information associated with them. And you might also, well, you probably will need to put things like zonal information into the machine deployment in a way that can be pulled out by the Carpenter implementation. But I'm documenting all this, and like I said, I'll have some examples to go with it. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. Once that initial version is running, I think it'd be cool to start thinking about like an end-to-end test for this using either KubeMark or the Docker provider from the core cluster API. But I haven't really gotten to the point of thinking about that yet because my hope is that once we get the alpha release out, or once we get the initial kind of like POC up, we can contribute this to Kubernetes SIGs, and I've been talking to people in the upstream. There are at least a few users who are interested in kind of contributing and getting in there and playing around with stuff. So hopefully, we can kind of get it released, and then start to go back and add things like integration testing and end-to-end testing and stuff like that. So that is kind of like where I'm at. Were there any questions or comments about the creation interface? Okay. Well, are there any ad hoc topics people would like to bring up or just kind of open questions people would like to get into? Okay, well, I guess if nobody has any questions, then we can probably end this early and take back almost 25 minutes of our day. All right, going once, going twice. All right, well, thanks for coming out. Hey, Marco, good to see you. And yeah, I guess we'll meet again in 2 weeks unless I have something big to report at the Cluster API meeting. Take care,
Thanks, Mike.
everybody.
No, thanks. Bye.